Welcome to the Nicholson School of Communication and Media's podcast studio. My name is Ryan Fox, and I'm here with Dr. Littlefield, our former director and still professor here at the Nicholson School, to talk about his time as a director of the school and kind of learn a bit more about what it's like to be the director of the school. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. It's nice to be here today.
So, it's been a interesting couple of months transitioning to the or transitioning out of the director position. I'm sure it's quite a change of pace for you, right?
Well, it really is a change of pace, but over my 50 years of being in education, I've been in and out of administrative roles before, and about 30 of the years I've been an administrator. So when I'm stepping out now, I'm returning to a time when I knew how to be a professor and focus on students. And so it's not as hard as you think. I think the biggest thing is that you find you have a lot more time in your schedule during the day. I have meetings here and there, but it's not like the 8 to 5 kind of constant meeting schedule that I usually had over the first 8 years.
I can tell it's probably a lot quieter, or a lot more calm to get things done or take care of the stuff that needs to get done through the day.
Actually, I can focus on the things. I have tasks. I've been asked to assist with scheduling for next year. I'm working on special problems that come up. I'm providing advice to Dr. Yu as our interim director. And so I feel like I'm being used as a resource, and that's nice. And I think that's good for the faculty too, because faculty and staff, because I'm still here. And so if something comes up that maybe that it'd be good to know how this came about or what's the story behind this, they can come to me and say, explain. I can provide stability, and I think that the faculty can know that, if something comes up, I'm still here to be able to answer questions.
No, I mean, it's the role of the director of an entire school, so it's not easy to just pass on the torch without, a little help or instruction along the way to make sure things smoothly transition with all the responsibility. It's a lot. So.
Yeah, it is.
And that leads me to my first question, in that, how did you come to become the director of the Nicholson School? Did you apply for the position? Were you approached by someone for the position? How did that come to be?
Well, actually, I was a professor at North Dakota State University, and I was a second-year director on the international board for Lions Clubs International. And that's a very time-consuming responsibility, because over that, by being an international director, I traveled regularly to conventions and meetings where I was often giving keynote speeches and things like that. So I was very busy during the year. And in March, I received an email from a colleague who said, I think you should apply for this job. It looks just like you. And I read it, and I sent an email back, because usually when people, I've been invited to apply for positions over the course of my career. And the courtesy is, thanks a lot for thinking of me. It looks like a great position. I'm in a position right now. I'm not looking to move, which is what I responded, because I knew my schedule was absolutely plugged full, and I knew that it would be full during the 2015-16 year, which was when this position was going to go into effect. A couple of months went by, and I got another email from this person who said, you really should apply for this position. The date closes in August. You have 2 weeks. Get it in. And I sent back and I said, I'm not really interested in moving right now. I've got a full schedule for 2015-16. I just don't think it's going to happen. I got another email. And finally, my wife said to me, Robert, just put your information in. If it's the Garden of Eden, you can say yes. If it's not a perfect place, you can say no. It doesn't hurt. Just put your name in if it's that, the position is that right. So on the very last day that I could apply, I submitted my application, and a week later, I got an email from the search committee chair who said, we want you to come in for an interview. And I said, I thought, well, I'm flattered. but I really don't have an open weekend. My weekends are already scheduled. The first time I could get to Orlando would be December. They said, okay, when in December can you come? And so I said, well, the second week of December. So school was out, or we're getting ready for graduation. And I said, okay, I'll come. I still was very busy, so I wasn't taking it very seriously, honestly. And about a week and a half, 2 weeks before I was supposed to come, you get the information like you're going to have to give a presentation, you're going to have to do these things as part of the interview process. So I was preparing. I had to do a PowerPoint. I had to think like, what am I going to say when I come to UCF? I looked at the strategic plan. I looked at things for the college. I put together, here's what I think I could contribute, one of those PowerPoints. And so I got everything ready to go. And then it was time to come to Orlando, and I still wasn't in the mind like, are you really going to Orlando seriously? Because you have been at this university for like 40 years. Are you really going to move and uproot yourself from where you have created a career, where you have family, all the things that normally would keep a person in place? And I think I got over about Des Moines on the way to Florida, and I had like almost a panic attack, like, you got to take this seriously. These people have been waiting for you since August, and you're now coming there, and you can't blow this off. You have to be serious about it. So it was like I had about 2 more hours while I was in the plane to kind of get my grip on myself. I fell in love from the minute I got here, and as I went through the interview, more and more with each meeting, I wanted this job more. And every meeting started with, are you really seriously thinking you're going to move here if you get the job? The first question out of the dean at the time was Michael Johnson. He said, would you really come here? And I said, well, I wouldn't be here if I wouldn't really come here. And things went well, and here I am.
That's quite a turnaround, though, a whole 360 from that mentality. And you're right, it's not easy to just uproot yourself from one side of the country to the other after being established for so long. I can imagine that was a big decision you had to make.
It really is a challenging, that is a challenging decision, because we decided that we would downsize some, that we had lived in the same house for 40 years. It had multiple levels. Every level was full. We had raised our children there. Both of our parents were in the same community, both my wife and my parents, and so we had been the child that kind of took care of parents at their end of life. And my wife's mother had just died, and my mom was in the final stages of her life. I came here in August, and she died in January of 2017. And so we had kept our house there so that I could go back and forth. And so during that first fall semester, I went back to home in Minnesota every 2 weeks and visited my mom and was, part of her life to the end. So that was hard. It was hard to leave her. But, my cousin had said to me, this is probably a gift, because you'll be in this new, exciting place, and when your mom dies, you won't have to spend so much time grieving, because you will be in a place where you're building new things, and you'll always have your memories and your feelings, but you'll be in a new place doing new things, and that's maybe a gift. So I took it as a positive, but it was a difficult first year because of those personal things going on.
No, of course. Transition and adjusting to a new lifestyle can always be difficult, even without those other circumstances. But while we're on the topic of memories, do you have any particular memories from your time here as director that are important to you or stick out compared to all the years that you've been here?
One of the most exhilarating memories was when we got our Ph.D. program approved by the State Board of Education, the Board of Governors. And I had to go before them and defend our application and answer questions from the Board of Governors. And it was in Boca, and we drove down the day before, stayed overnight, got up in the morning, and then we sat in this chamber. And when it was my turn, I came up to the mic as the director of the school, and so I had to. It wasn't something that I was afraid of at all, because I was a collegiate and a high school debater. I coached debate all the time, so I knew about how to make arguments and how to answer questions and cross-examination, all that stuff. So I wasn't afraid of it, but it's a significant moment where you are representing your program, and your dean is there, and your provost is there, and the president is there. Everybody's there, and you're the one that has to defend the program. So when I had that experience, and there were a couple of questions from one of the governors who was not wanting to approve the program because they thought it maybe would duplicate or it was in competition with Florida State or the University of Florida, it being another university with a strategic communication or a communication Ph.D. program. And so we had to defend why we were different, what was different about our program, and why we would complement what was already in the state. And it was an exchange, back and forth exchange. And then after they said, okay, we have no more questions, and then they took the vote, and it passed. And I just remember a flood of emotion, because it was something we really wanted, and it was really something the university wanted, and to be able to accomplish that. And I was brought to UCF. One of the things that I was told was that we want you to launch a Ph.D. program in communication. That's one of your first tasks. And so being able to accomplish that and be the person who was the point person on it, I think that's a memory that I will always have.
A whole Ph.D. program for the school, like a milestone for the school to set itself apart from what it was before.
Right.
No, I can definitely imagine that was a very significant moment for you. And your debate skills coming into play as a communicator, I mean, it just almost feels fitting at that point.
That was fun. I think another memory, if you want more than one, was when we were able to host the Pi Kappa Delta National Tournament here. Pi Kappa Delta is the oldest national collegiate forensic organization still in existence, and it was an honor society of sorts. Schools would affiliate with Pi Kappa Delta, and Pi Kappa Delta would host national tournaments and conferences where students could go and present. And Pi Kappa Delta has a real education focus. One of the things about speech and debate is it is a very game mentality. It's like you have moves and strategies and offense and defense and all of that when you're in a debate situation. And so sometimes the game can become too much. And Pi Kappa Delta, as a national organization, is much more interested in the education and the role of the activity to create knowledge that can help a student in life. And so I had been the elected president of Pi Kappa Delta in 1991. So that's a long time ago. And had been involved with the organization, and I was inducted into their Hall of Fame at a previous point in time. And so when it came to UCF, I wanted UCF to have a Pi Kappa Delta chapter because I thought this would be a good value-added dimension for our students. And so we did. We they had never had a chapter, so they activated a chapter, and they started to go to the tournaments and conferences. And our students really liked it because it was a comprehensive nationals. There were both speech and debate activities. Some collegiate national tournaments are more just debate or just speech events, but this is a combination. And so we started it, and I kind of fielded a question, would anyone like to come to Orlando for a national tournament? Because I was the local host back at North Dakota State when we had hosted the Pi Kappa Delta tournament there in 1999. And I thought, well, this would be kind of neat if we could do it here. And so we were able to make a bid, and we got it, and we hosted it in the year after the pandemic, 2022. And it was really a big success, and just being able to be a part of that event here on campus was really special. And it was kind of a, I've always been very supportive of speech and debate activities. My wife and I have set up a scholarship for speech and debate students. We just have set up an endowment fund to support speech and debate activities into the future. That was one of the things we just have done now this year. So I've tried to invest back into the school because of so much that I've received from the school. And so having that memory of hosting that national tournament and having people come here and showcasing UCF, that was another really special memory.
I mean, it feels almost fitting that something that you were so involved with could finally be brought to the school with you heading as the director. Kind of making it almost come full circle that it was bound to happen when you took the role as director, that this would be something that came up in the school. You worked hard to make sure that people are trying to make sure the faculty and staff were, listened or heard with their concerns and tried to keep everything together. It can't be easy.
I always had as a goal that I wanted to create an environment where people felt that they could be successful and that they could thrive. So I spent a lot of time trying to make people feel that what they were going through, that somebody heard them, that somebody understood. And it might not be an ideal situation. Most staff members work under difficult circumstances for insufficient salaries. That's just the way of the world. But if you help them to feel that what they're doing makes a difference for the school, and that working together with them you can be successful, then their satisfaction level is higher, even if they're working under difficult circumstances. And you mentioned you didn't necessarily want to talk about the COVID experience, but I can tell you that during that period of COVID, where we were working in, difficult circumstances, everyone was remote. We were trying to maintain our school communication, all the things. I'm really proud that we lost no staff members. Nobody left our school to take another job. They stayed with us. And I think over time, for the most part, we have created a climate where our staff have been very loyal, and circumstances change and people have to go, and there are reasons why. But in general, it's very gratifying to know that you've been appreciated for creating a positive work environment. And that's really what I was trying to do all the time.
And I think that's a quality in leadership that's not seen, in my opinion, enough throughout the country when it comes to, taking care of employees or taking care of people that work under you. I can tell you I have a lot of students and a lot of faculty members talk about how they still have connections with each other after graduating. It's not spoken enough how much a faculty member can change a student's life.
Oh, I agree.
And I wanted to talk about next, when it comes to the director's position, Dr. Nanyu is doing a great job taking over right now as the interim director, but there will be someone else who comes in after her. And I want to know if you had anything to say to that future director about the school, about the future of the school, or about how you even saw the school going forward that you would still like to see under new leadership.
Well, I want to explain that I really appreciate that Dr. Yu was willing to step into this role, because she has been the senior associate director for the school for a number of years. So she's worked closely with me, and I have known Dr. Yu for many years because I knew her right as she was graduating with her doctorate from Penn State. I was actually at North Dakota at the time, and she applied for a position there. I was chair of the search committee, and when you've got a winner. She was very she's a very positive person who is very skilled, and so I've known her a long time, and I was really grateful that she was willing to do this during the interim. And the position, she is in an interim status, and eventually the interim status will change. There will be a permanent director, whoever that person is. And so that's why I'll focus my attention on whoever that person is. I really think that one of the things that I think is essential for our next director is that they have to have a broad background in dealing with a variety of disciplines, because we are not a singular program. So whoever becomes the director has to have the ability to work with a variety of disciplines comfortably. And so I would urge, that would be an important quality that the next director would show. I think that it's important to treat people equitably. We need to make sure that we're fair with how we assign things, how we award things, how we support things. These are all, it's important that we don't favor one area or another. We need to continue to work on providing equity for all areas, and I would want the next director to recognize that importance. But also, I think that interdisciplinarily, we have a really great opportunity in the school because we have so many related areas that could be working together to create new and exciting opportunities for our students. And I think as we look at, media literacy and the need for that, that goes across all of our disciplines. No matter where you are, being able to discern, to think critically, to know what you're seeing. Those are things that are not unique to one area. So finding ways to work together for important areas that students need to learn, I think that's someone who's interested in interdisciplinary efforts is important. I think I would want our next director to appreciate the diversity of our students and our faculty and staff, that it's important to support a variety of perspectives, orientations, belief systems. We need to have respect for everyone that we encounter. And I think the director needs to promote that kind of appreciation for diversity in all aspects of the school. And so, my hope for the school, I guess, if I were to have one idea that I would like to see go forward, I think that when a student graduates from the Nicholson School of Communication and Media, they should be branded in a particular way. They should be branded as someone who can speak effectively in a variety of contexts, someone who can write well in whatever way they write, someone who knows how to do research to be able to increase the knowledge that we have, someone who has had an experience where they have actually been in a practicum or an internship or something where they've gotten a different or a perspective. I think as you start looking, and you could add to that list, whatever you think is important, but I think that when you say, I'm a Nicholson grad, you can expect certain things. This is what you can expect. Oh, the fifth one could be that I am a generous person who is going to support my school after I'm successful in the workplace. That I've received a lot and I'm going to give it back. Let's just say those are the 5 marks of a Nicholson grad, and that every grad would be able to say that. I think that we don't have that right now. We don't require, even in the Nicholson School, that everyone takes a public speaking class. Our writing classes, not everyone takes a writing class in our school. We have a lot of different writing classes for different, writing for TV, writing for film, writing, we have writing classes where writing is emphasized, but where are we really making sure that every student has an internship or we're starting to get high impact classes, and that every student will have had a high impact class where we could be able to guarantee to an employer these are the things that mark a Nicholson student. That's something that I wish that hope that the new director might identify, that kind of a way to brand our students and our school, that we stand for these things, and we will make sure that our students are good examples of those things.
No, those are powerful words. And you're right, the communication and media part of the Nicholson School of Communication and Media is an umbrella term that covers so many fascinating fields. And when it comes to the students giving back, I agree. There are I've met over the course of my time working here so many alumni that have come back to give back to the school, give to the students, to try and connect with the students, to truly have them understand just what a exciting opportunity or what an immense opportunity the school provides them with the education that they receive. And I hope that continues as well. It is a beautiful thing to see. And from the Nicholson School of Communication and Media's podcast studio, my name is Ryan Fox, and thank you for joining us.